Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes, facts,
Boots!
and other stuff.
In this week's issue, the Red Bee. Buzz.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by it doesn't start with an M, but the buzzing one. I don't know if that works.
Sure.
It does for this. Mr. Mike.
Molting?
Maybe.
I'm
trying to
keep
it.
Mike.
Maybe. I'm trying to keep it insect-centric, but more importantly, bee-centric for today's episode.
Bee-centric.
Just to set up a little bit, obviously this doesn't work too well for an audio podcast, and we have dabbled with video a little bit in the past, and we will again more in the future. But part of the setup that we have that we will for the moving forward, at least to explain to you. Yeah. So in the studio we have a giant TV, and I've projected the computer onto the TV so Mike can see exactly then everything we're talking about.
You make it sound like a magic trick.
I do. Well,
projected it.
I did. It's a lot of magic. Mike, we're a comic book podcast.
I get that.
I have to make it sound bigger than it is.
That's true.
And the reason I did that is because I do not have physical copies of this because we are taking a dive.
Who the hell does?
Who has
copies of this?
Maybe somebody somewhere. Well, they have to because I got this. I do want to give a shout out, I guess, before I dive into all this. We're going back to the 1940s. 1940 exactly, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
For when Hit Comics came out. July of 1940.
Wonder what Hitler thought of this.
Well, I mean, we're not a part of World War II yet, if it's 1940. Mm-hmm. But
he was reading comics.
Well,
Hitler loved his comics.
They are a big villain of this time during all comic books.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
we are taking a look at a character named the Red Bee. His
Red
alter
Bee.
ego is Richard Riley.
Okay.
Or just Rick. But the Red
to
Bee
his friends.
From Quality Comics back in 1940, July 1940 was his first appearance in Hit Comics #1, and that lasts for 24 appearances. So he's in 24 issues. So essentially for 2 years, from 1940 to 1942. You can read about the Red Bee every month in Quality Comics, in Hit Comics. And then he just kind of goes away, and DC acquires Quality Comics stuff. I think it's around the time of like The Watchmen and stuff.
Okay.
Because Alan Moore originally wanted to use the Quality, or maybe that was the Charlton Comics. I could be confusing two stories.
Yeah.
There was one.
It's the
DC,
same kind of thing.
It kind of is, but there is a story of where like some of the older comic book characters that DC bought, like Alan Moore wanted to use those characters for Watchmen, and DC was like, well, we just bought these characters' rights. We don't know about you killing them off like right before we get to use them on anything else. Yeah. And so he created his own, because Peacemaker, I'll give a tie-in. Next week, we're going to talk about the new Peacemaker series.
Nice.
But Peacemaker was one of the Charlton comic characters that Alan Moore wanted to use, kind of like the comedian, and they're like, nah, we have other ideas for him. So anyway...
Yeah, this is crazy. Like I love this old stuff because you can see the overprinting of the colors and all that. You know, it's just
very much so.
It's very cool. Like it takes you way back.
A little bit more backstory then to the Red Bee, because he did make another appearance later on.
Okay.
He was, I think, in the 80s. It was All-Star. I'm gonna have to look this up. He fought with. They had a patriotic team that was like led by Uncle Sam. What is it here? DC bought other Quality Comics characters. I'm trying to look it up. I can't remember the name of the series, but he does come back to DC in the 80s, and is inevitably killed in the series that he comes back into.
Really?
Yeah. I think he's
pull
around
his
for like
stinger out, or what?
All-Star Squadron, maybe? Why can I not find what I'm looking for when I need it? But yeah, so they essentially use him for Freedom Fighters. There we go. He was part of All-Star Squadron and the Freedom Fighters.
That makes total sense.
It does, especially for characters at this time and age. But yeah, they brought him back.
Isn't that what they called the guerrilla soldiers in South America? Weren't they freedom fighters?
I think so, something like that. It says the character never became very popular and was largely forgotten until he reappeared. We're going to focus on the stuff that was forgotten from the 40s when we dive into it. But he reappeared in DC Comics All-Star Squadron, and in the Squadron, it's learned that he was killed by a supervillain named Baron Blitzkrieg. So it had to be a German supervillain there too, while saving the lives of our men and the other allies of the Freedom Fighters. So he kind of sacrifices himself. It does say that Red B appears as a ghost in the pages of Starman.
Oh, very nice.
The focus of this appearance is as a dinner party attended by many deceased heroes. Other heroes in attendance include the original Mr. Terrific and Our Man. The topic discussed is the intense appeal of the superhero life. And then post-crisis, he had a cameo in Animal Man and briefly in, where does it say? Oh, Dark Knight's Death Metal, which is a Scott Snyder story that came out within the past 5-6 years or so. Red B is among the superheroes that were revived by Batman using a Black Lantern ring. Anyway, aside from these 24 appearances from Quality Comics, it's been very sparingly, one here, and then 12 years later, one random cameo here.
Yeah.
And then, in the 80s, he was around for 4 issues. But this is a very kind of forgotten character, but I think it's definitely up your alley. I know that we like this kind of stuff, so I thought we would go ahead and dive into some of the Red B's adventures. Now, there were 24 issues that he appeared in. I did not do my best this week as a co-host or a host and read all 24. You can go ahead and scold me for that, but I got a fair sense, I feel, of what we were going to get into with this. I do want to give, and I always like to when it comes to these older comics, and give a shout out to the website comicbookplus.com that has a ton of these old public domain comic books, all the old Charlton stuff and the Quality stuff, and just if you're looking for, comics from the 40s and 50s, they have it there, and it's a big community that finds and scans these, finds them out in the wild and scans them in there for digital versions of it. So,
cool. Wow.
You ask at some point
That's
in time.
a lot.
It is. Somebody has located all 24 issues of this to be able to compile it together. But it was still really cool. So shout out to them. And it's a great website if you want to look into some old, just public domain and just 40s and 50s comics. I've used it a lot with the things we've covered, and I'm sure I'll use it again. So let's go ahead and get into our first appearance here. I do like this cover. It's very... Oh,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hit Comics #1, Red B is actually on the cover from July of 1940.
I love his clear pirate bags.
Bag art with the cufflinks around them?
No, just the baggy arms, a pirate shirt.
But they're see-through almost.
Yeah, it's like he's got plastic bags on his arms. I kind of dig the pants though.
Yeah, the stripe. Well, they
red
don't
and yellow
last,
stripe.
They last only for 4 issues.
And red and yellow kill a fella.
I will also say it shows him shooting a gun.
Uh-huh.
In all the stories I read, never used a gun.
Yeah.
But it's a great looking cover.
I don't like the green boots.
Yeah.
It's a little Christmassy.
I don't know. He's kind of got a Mr. Miracle color vibe going on.
Yeah, a little bit. Just not as
then,
cool.
I
like the guy coming up out of the water though.
Other things in that book.
Knife in his teeth.
Yeah, no, those are guys you don't mess with. Hercules, the strongest man in the world. Blaze Barton, Neon the Unknown, and the Strange Twins.
Strange Twins.
So let's go ahead and get into...
I had a couple of strange twins in my house.
I have brothers that
are... Oh, that's right. You have strange twins.
I do have strange twins. So...
Twins are just weird, man. They
usually
really are.
There used to be a pair, a group of twins that worked together somewhere, and it was kind of just... They were creepy. So yeah,
it is. It's weird.
It is. I just realized after I'm telling that story that for some reason I don't want to give away too much.
Because
they might find me they scare me. So there's got to be some kind of sixth sense. They know when that goes.
That goes with that whole mimic ghost we were talking about.
Oh
yesterday,
yeah. Where
the twins will just come out of a dark for you.
So the funny thing that I like too is that Red B, it says it's by B.H. Apiary, which if you don't know what an apiary is a collection of beehives. Yeah. So, and I'm assuming the BH stands for beehive as well.
Apiary.
So they thought, hey, let's get a little joke in because a lot of times the comic book industry at this time, you did not get a lot of credit for art nor riding
Why wouldn't you just call the guy the Bee?
instead of the Red Bee.
Yeah, I don't know why he's red.
I don't know.
Why does he
Maybe
have to be red?
maybe they like the red color.
Yeah, maybe
But so a lot of
maybe they
you
had some
know,
extra ink.
a lot of artists. What's the 4 colors, Mike? It's all you got.
Yeah.
A lot of artists and writers just did not get credit then at the time because of this. And so you just had like pen names and stuff that were used a lot. Like I think we covered Fletcher Hanks way back with, and like that was a pen name. Like people would change to move around from things like that. I will say though that they believe, pretty rightly so, that it was created by Tony Bloom and Charles Nicholas. Tony Bloom,
Who they be?
is actually born real name Audrey Anthony Bloom. Is one of the first female comic professionals.
Oh wow!
So,
But had to go by Tony.
but had to had to go by Tony.
Yeah.
But like so it's nice to see at least like one of the first female names in comics like be a part of something like this. But again, you don't know because she doesn't sign her name because it's BH Apiary. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into.
Well, not
Red
only
Bee.
that, I would imagine people just would go apeshit if had they known a woman worked on this
Oh
comic
yeah, because
at that time.
Oh, for sure. Well, there was another Miss Fury comes out around that same time. That was a what was her name? Hattie.
Sally Fury.
No, the woman there and that was a drawn and I'm pretty sure it was written and drawn both by the same woman, and it was the same thing of where like she was one of the first female comic book writers as well.
That's got to be so scary to be like one of the first ones.
Oh,
like
in
that.
anything.
You know, it's
you would
amazing.
think if you just hope that I just want to keep making stuff and hope that they don't catch on and be like, no, you can't do that. I don't know. A lot of great women writers in the comic book industry. I just say that because I talked to somebody about Gail Simone the other day, who had a fantastic run on Deadpool that kind of brought him back in a sense of where her thing was that it's Deadpool zany and he's fun, but he gets tiring that way. Like you have to. The dark humor, the tragedy, and all of that. Like you have to mix them all together really well to make it work. And she had a fantastic run with him too. Anyway, back to the Red Bee. So this is going to be your typical, just kind of generic of a lot of comics at the time of, hey, bad things are going on. This guy shows up and just ruins it. Now and puts a stop to it. But it's all like things that don't sound like typical comic book problems now. And it's like, well, I say that it's always, problems in a way of people having to deal with crooked politicians or like people like trying to there's one, it's like taxpayers. They're trying to like steal their money to be able to like feed the rich of like this mob kind of thing. It's all just very local kind of.
Oh, absolutely.
I know I'm rambling, but it's not like the bigger kind of baddies. It's all just like local things at this point in time.
Yeah.
So like,
well, again, you got to remember this is there's a lot politically going on in the world at this time, and so this whole story is about grifting politicians and crappy people in government and stuff. So, like we talked about yesterday, it these kind of things reflect the times.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just
for
the
sure.
way it is. Yeah,
and so this is definitely setting in the 40s, but. So what we have here is a group of people, and it looks like a lot of people are out here picketing, angered by the slack. Slack is used a lot too, but grafting administration, I guess, is the business.
Well, no, I'm thinking grafting, slack meaning lazy, grafting meaning crooked. Administration.
Oh, they're doing. Oh, I see. Okay,
what
this
I love about the crowd is they're all in a single file line. How orderly of them.
Except for the group that is in the road picketing.
One little ball right in front.
Yeah, it's like
so weird looking.
I guess that's the group that refused to listen to everybody else. Like, hey, we're going to stand in this line. They're like, no, we want to get closer.
The people with the signs, they just put lines on them. They didn't put words.
Yeah, well, that's probably why they're like, I don't know what's going on. So the tyrannical boss Storm is the main villain of this one.
He looks like a bad guy.
He does. It's the glasses.
He looks like Perry White, but with little spectacles like John Lennon.
Yep, there
or
you go.
Oppenheimer or somebody.
His cronies are kind of telling him like, oh, it's a bad sign that they're out there picketing. And he's like, oh, whatever. Let them blow it off. They'll quiet down. Cake. He's like, I'm running this city, and I say no relief. We're then introduced to our district attorney, Tom Darrow. You can try to remember his name. It doesn't matter. You might think, oh, we're being introduced to the district attorney because that's who's going to be the Red Bee. No, the Red Bee is his assistant, Rick Riley.
Mm.
So,
Wait,
but he
Rick
works,
Riley?
Rick Riley, like Sports Illustrated.
Always such stupid names.
So everything's alliterative, man.
Yeah, I get it.
So he
We
works
strive
at the
for
DA's
alliteration
office.
around here.
Exactly. We just like to rhyme stuff with
We do like
bros,
to rhyme
foes, and
things,
heroes.
yeah. All failed rappers.
So the DA is just telling him like, hey, I really need to clean up these rackets, and my hands are tied though. I don't know what to do. And he's like, I know that it's Boss Storm, but I'm afraid that he's going to ruin my career.
Yeah.
And Rick tells him like, well, it's time. Like the mob was kicked out of the city and City Hall. Like I think we need to go ahead and do something.
And
So-
I think I've away.
And
What?
so Rick leaves and he goes and he calls the paper and he tells me, he's like, hey,
The Daily Record.
the Daily Record. And he's like, I'm telling you, the DA is about to blow everything wide open. Well, they, of course, print that story because why wouldn't you? It's got to be the biggest story in town that the DA is about to take down, this corrupt administration. And, of course, Boss Storm sees that. And he's like, what? He has new evidence? Well, I've got to get that new evidence. So
He tells him to take 2 men to the guy's house.
he does, and to get proof. And they're like, okay, boss, we'll go ahead and do that.
And here is very 40s style bad guys. They're all in matching suits with fedoras, and one of them's walking saying, "There's the house."
Yeah.
DERE''S
He's
DE
gotta-
house.
He's got to talk like a gangster.
There's the house.
And then while they're looking out, though, the district attorney sees that the men are loitering below.
Oh, not
And
loitering.
he's like, I wonder what they're up to. And he just decides to call the cops.
I think one of them jaywalked.
But when he calls the cops, he's like, oh, no, they've cut my line. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh.
And the thugs saunter. I love how they saunter through the hall searching for the district attorney's room. And they get to a door and they're like, are you sure this is it? And positive. And they go to open it. But as soon as the door opens, a bee flies out.
No.
And it just says, zzz, and it throws the guy off guard enough to where you see a fist just punch him in the chin.
Crack.
And then it says, tisk tisk, you gents met with an accident. That is his
So
tagline
stupid.
after taking out some bad guys.
I don't understand his see-through shirt.
I
It's so
don't
goofy.
either. Here's the thing too. What
Wow.
color is his mask, Mike?
It looks like it's black.
It's a black domino mask.
Uh-huh.
What color was it on the cover?
Oh, it's red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah. Those things change.
then the other cronies decide to run away because the DA comes from the adjoining room to be like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, let's scram." They go back
Scram.
they go back to Boss Storm, and he's like, "Oh, you stupid fools!" And he's like, "No, man, we were jumped."
The guy that says we got jumped, he needs to have that mole looked at.
The red
The
one.
big red one by his ear.
I think that might just be a printing error.
Oh, okay.
And then suddenly the door is open. What? The red bee? So he just followed
Everybody
them.
knows who he is.
Nobody noticed that he just ran after them behind them. Like I
This-
would think, like look at the floors. Those look
Yeah.
like it's not carpeted floors.
No,
you
they're
would
very
hear
shiny.
somebody running after you.
Yeah.
So it's like they ran down the stairs and they didn't hear him
Yeah.
chasing after him at all, or didn't notice. Anyway, they get trailed there, and
Everybody's so formal.
it's like I've heard of your work, Mister
Mr. Red
Red
Bee."
Bee, but it ends here tonight. And he says maybe.
Could be.
Stealthily, this is something that
This
happens a
is
lot. He
the
wears a belt,
dumbest-
right?
Uh,
But it looks leather, I guess, at other times.
So-
but up close, it looks like plastic or metal
the
or
belt's
something.
the size of like a WWE championship belt. That's
Yes.
how, or a freaking
full on cummerbund.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
even bigger than a cummerbund, kind of. It's almost like a girdle.
Yeah, it's a massive belt, but he stealthily opens a catch in his belt and releases a bee
It's a magic belt that
It's-
holds a bee.
that holds a bee, right? And then, because he's got a gun held on him, and Boss Storm goes, "Ow, a bee stung me." So he gets stung on the hand
These guys.
and lets go of his gun, and that allows the red bee to be able to punch.
Well, now who's Red Bee punching?
That's the other guy that he
Okay.
followed in there.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I mean, those
That's
are two
Mole
very
Guy.
different guys. Yeah.
And he goes, "I guess my work ends here, all right."
Well, hang on, Zach. Before that,
Oh,
he
sorry.
says, as he punches him up off the floor, you're number one on the hit parade.
That's
Good.
He's full of
stuff.
zingers.
Great
man.
writing.
He's full of great zingers. But he goes to Boss Storm's desk, ends up stealing all the new evidence, and he's like,
Yeah.
"All right, I enjoyed this visit." And then he leaves, and Boss Storm's like, "Oh, he's got all of our records." So Red Bee just drops it off at the DA's house, and he's like, "Hey, here's all your proof." And then apparently Red Bee is Batman because the DA just says, "I took my eyes off him just for a second, and he's gone."
Disappears. Yeah, just like a bee.
Just like a bee.
You know how bees are.
Yeah, which I will go back to. I still think that's one of my favorite moments of Kingdom Come when we covered it, as small as it is where Batman's talking to Superman and turns around and Superman's gone and Batman goes, "Oh, I guess that's what it feels like." It's the small things. So the DA then takes this new information and gives it to not the other paper that they called to say they were doing it. No, this is for the Times Mirror. I don't know if one runs in the afternoon and one runs in the morning, but
I remember those times when there were two papers.
yeah.
And that kid, of course, the newsie down there, extra.
Which I think we've talked about before because we've had multiple like stories and stuff where newspaper boys will yell out extra.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know what it means.
Oh yeah. It's always extra.
So, everybody's getting upset and then they're like, DA, like, well, it's all the suspense. Like either you produce this evidence that you say that you've got or it's, your job is over. And he's like, I'm telling you guys, I promise tomorrow the city will be rid of Boss Storm and his vicious racket. So they decide, all right, Boss Storm goes, the DA is undoubtedly the Red Bee, right? So we take out the DA, we take out the Red Bee, and we're good. They head to his office, and they kidnap him as he leaves. But little do they know, the Red Bee is watching the entire time. And a sleek car pulls up behind them to follow them.
They think they've got the Red Bee.
They do.
Right.
They think, we've got DA Darrow. That's the Red Bee.
That's the other thing that's disturbing about these times and these comics. Everybody's really stupid.
They are. They're very stupid.
Very stupid.
So they find a spot off a cliff with water below, and they tie him up, and they're just going to toss him off, and I guess let him drift down to the bottom. And they're like, all right, so long, DA, and they throw him away. Well, don't worry, Red Bee is on the other side, on the far end of the cliff, and he dives into the water after him, and he's able to rescue the DA, and he saves him, right? He comes through, and he takes him back to his car, and the two start trailing the bad guys again. And while they're there, the Red Bee looks at the DA and goes, hey, take the wheel. I'm going to jump onto their car. And he's like, what? We're going 90 miles an hour.
90?
And he's like, I don't care. So, yes.
That's so fast for those big-ass cars they were driving at that point.
So, those big cars are moving at 90. The Red Bee opens the door and just jumps from one car to the next. I don't know where he's hanging on at, Mike.
Not only does he just jump, he goes, here goes. And he just tries it.
He does. And it says the Red Bee slips but regains his balance. Nearly missed that time. Does that mean he has missed before and he's like just tumbled and rolled?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So he punches both of them with one punch. 2 in 1 sock is what he says.
Oh, my God.
And somehow is able to pull the car up to a stop.
It's probably those sleeves.
Maybe.
Probably helps with
Magic
punching
sleeves.
people in the ear.
And he goes, DA, here, take these men in their car. I'll have Boss Storm for you in an hour. And again, he turns around to look at the men, and Red Bee disappears.
Just like Domino's Pizza. He's going to have you
Yep.
the bad guy to you in an hour.
So we go back to Boss Storm, and they're like, all right, we're done for, man. Like, they got Red. Here's the thing I love, too. They got Red and Pete. Those are the two thugs that I guess Red Bee got. And you can't come up with another name besides Red Bee. You have to call him Red.
Red.
Anyway.
Mr. Red Bee.
We're going to go ahead and see what happens to Boss Storm and the rest of the Red Bee adventures after we come back from break right here on Bros, Foes, and Heroes. And welcome back to Bros, Foes, and Heroes as we continue our tales of the adventures of the Red Bee. Let's pick back up where we had Boss Storm now realizing, all right, we're done for since they got Red and Pete. Like, we just got to get out of here. And they're going to head to the airport.
Look how high their pants are.
Well, I mean,
they're
up
like
the style
past
right?
their navel. Like, very high-waisted pants.
Yeah, but you seem like a high-waisted pants guy.
Oh, I love a good pair of high-waisted pants and some ska music.
Oh,
Can't
there
get
we
enough.
go. I don't know why you hate ska music.
I don't like it.
I get that. Like,
it all sounds the same.
Okay, fine.
It's all like polka, you know?
You think all polka sounds the same?
Yeah. As a German American, I can say all polka sounds the same.
All All right. They decide. I'm not touching that.
Well, it does.
They decide.
Really? You're afraid the polka industry is going to come after you?
No, polka's awful. I don't care about that. I just
Really?
don't know what to get into the whole like, oh yeah, you can say this and that because you're German American.
I used to what? No, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It was just I'm not. I mean, I'm German, but mixed with a hell of a lot of other stuff. But I used to watch the when I had satellite TV, I would watch the Farm and Ranch channel.
The Polka King? Wasn't that
Because
John
they
Candy?
had a polka show on there. I would just turn it on, and it's just the old people dancing to polka while this guy goes, and next on the song, we're going to play the bear, bear, bear. It sounded a lot like, what's
The
his face?
Swedish Chef? Is the
No,
game that you
like
just gave?
Lawrence Welk.
Oh,
And now on the show, we're going to play the bear, the bear.
that's what Lawrence Welk
He
sounded
does
like?
sound a lot like that. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He sounds like this now.
Because
he's dead. Yeah.
Yeah, solid joke.
No, it really
I
wasn't,
did
but
appreciate
okay.
that.
Yeah.
So they decide, hey, we're going to leave town. We're going to head to the airport and get out of here. So as the racketeers arrive to the plane ready to leave, guess who shows up? Oh, it's the Red
Oh,
Bee.
it's the Red Bee. Look at him go.
He is everywhere.
He does a lot of flipping.
He does. A nice little shoulder
Uh-huh,
tackle
uh-huh.
right to the
Yeah, right to the groin.
crotch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, that
he
guy's
drops the
face
other one.
looks like he got hit in the crotch,
He
too.
does, and then he drops like on his back, but
Uh-huh.
lifts all the way up to his shoulders.
Yeah.
He's very it's like gymnastic moves almost.
Oh, this gets mean. Look at this.
He is.
The next guy's like, what the? I'll cut his heart out.
And
Jeez, that's a
Red
big
Bee-
move.
He does, and Red Bee just clobbers him so hard that you can't even see his head. It's just a flash there.
He just
of where
blew his head up.
punched him.
Yeah.
But
Splooch.
Boss Storm does get on the plane. Doesn't matter. Red Bee jumps up and grabs a hold of the wing.
This is a guy that struggled to jump from one car to the next, and now he's jumping straight up to planes.
And then he's like, hey, and he just grabs him in a headlock, and he goes, gosh, this plane's riding fast, and he's securely holding Boss Storm. He just drops out of the plane. No parachute, no nothing, to the point where everybody else is like, oh, he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we don't see it. We just hear them say, he's reached the ground safely.
What a cheap,
Amazing.
what a
Unharmed,
cheap way to
unhurt.
get the action. The fool, he'll kill himself. Oh, he's reached the ground. Amazing. He's unhurt, and he's making
And
for
you
a
don't
car,
have to
dragging some men
draw
with
it
him.
at all.
That's like 10 panels, and they just say it in 3 sentences.
Yes. And instead, we just see a silhouette of what
So
looks like
funny.
2 stick figures falling out of plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's able to make it.
These
out of
cars
time.
always look the same too in these comics.
They do. While people stare in astonishment, the Red Bee whisks Boss Storm away in a car. And he tells him, like, the DA wants you.
Look at the little tiny guys over here with question marks over their
What's
heads.
going on?
Oh, what happened?
Talk about a complete lack of background behind them, too.
Yeah.
I did read in this first one that somebody said that it's kind of like shoddily drawn and
Yeah.
just quickly put together.
Yeah. I
And
can
it
see
looks
that.
like it was an Iger Studios kind of drawing at the time. And what they would do is a lot of these production studios, as they're just sitting in there kind of almost like, the line, oh, what's Eli Whitney? Interchangeable parts.
Cotton
But it's
gin?
like but it's like a it's just a production line of where it's just like draw,
Oh, okay.
pass the next,
Okay.
draw, and it's just like that day, and like they just sit down at tables and draw all the time, just trying to crank out as much as they can. And it's just not like
yeah, at a certain point, you're just going to draw circles for heads and
exactly.
move on.
You're just
Yeah.
drawing to get it because it was all more about speed than
A
quality.
lot
at
of
the
this,
time.
courtroom drama and stuff like that is from overhead,
Yeah.
and it's just little tiny figures, but they can draw a crowd real quick.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
So several
There's
days.
3 judges for some reason. I guess.
I don't get that
One
either.
judge. I don't know.
But so a few days later, Boss Storm is on trial, and the DA is telling him the court will attempt to prove that you were head of all the rackets, and Boss Storm's like, Psh, that's a lie. You're not going to get me to do that. He goes, you're trying to frame me. That's what you're trying to do. But then a bee flies swiftly at the enraged Boss Storm.
So
And the bee stops Storm's violent outburst.
by stinging him again.
No, it doesn't say that it
Well,
stings
he
him,
says "ow."
but then it goes, yes, I confess.
Oh
I
my
admit
God!
everything.
Because of a
Get
bee.
me out of here. Because of the bee. And minutes later, the jury
Why do you need a
returns the quick
superhero if you've
verdict.
got a bee like this?
Well, I'm about to tell you something better about the bee
Okay.
once we
All
get
right.
to
Let's
a few more of these
talk about
adventures.
the bee. By the
It's-
way, in nature, a bee stings you once, it dies.
Yeah.
Just letting you guys know.
Well, that's not the case here, Mike. And minutes later, the jury comes
Super
back
bee.
and like, yep, Boss Storm is guilty.
Boss hog.
Everybody celebrates. The DA says, hey, Rick, you did a great job helping me out. And he's like, oh, you don't say. And about that time, a bee flies by. And he goes, yeah, it's a bee. And that's how we end
Yow.
this one.
Wait, holy crap! That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, they got Boss Storm was found guilty.
Yeah.
And then the DA keeps getting telegrams from people about how grateful they are.
And then the guy gets stung by a bee.
Well, he doesn't. It just hums by.
Yow! It's a bee.
Like, it's a bee.
Wow! What an amazing adventure.
So
a guy pulls a bee out of his crotch.
I read about 5. It's the side of his crotch, Mike.
Okay.
I read about
what is
5.
who's that person?
I don't know. Oh, that's Angel. Maybe?
Is that Neon
or the Unknown?
Hercules?
Oh, maybe it's the
Red
Unknown
Bee?
and the Tyrants of Doom. Those look like Tyrants of Doom.
Oh, look at the Nazi-looking dude.
Yeah, Strange.
Oh,
Twins,
Strange Twins again.
Weird Tales. Oh, or maybe that's Jack and Jill Detectives.
Jack and Jill Detectives.
X5
Blaze
Super Agent.
Spartan. Wow.
So,
oh my God, the
I'm
Red
gonna
Bee now
cover
is eating bones.
the rest of these kind of quickly because, as you could see from our first main story of how most of these are going to shape up, it's the same story in a sense of he's trying
always
to
politicians,
take down something.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this one, it's the city rich. There's an influenza epidemic that's ravaging the city. Here's the thing: people are passing out so fast, they just let them down the street where they are. Right?
Well, that's the 40s for you.
Yep.
I don't know.
And Rick is just essentially he asked the DA like, "Hey, we got to find something to do." And the DA is like, "We don't have the money to be able to pay for it all, like for all the treatment that we need." Because it's all gone into the pockets of Al Sneed's men.
Oh, not Al Sneed.
Graft. There's graft again.
There's a lot of grafting. Grifting and grafting.
Hospital appropriations in the hands of ward healers.
Ward healers? What the hell's a ward healer?
Don't know.
Okay.
But these evil men are all like, they want to toast, and they're singing like he's a jolly good fellow to Al Sneed because he's bled the city dry with all this influenza thing.
Great job.
Yeah,
Al
he's like,
Sneed.
here's to the taxpayers. May they continue to shell out. I think we've made enough dough to take over the next city.
Okay, small break here.
Yeah.
It's the 40s.
Yep.
When was the Depression?
32.
Okay. It lasted like 8 years or something, right? I mean, it was a while.
Yeah, or maybe it was 29. So the stock market crashed Black Fridays in 29.
Okay.
I'm going to say you at least ran through 30.
So we're still feeling the repercussions of that.
Yeah, we're not too far
The
removed
Nazis
from it.
are marching across the globe. We haven't joined the war yet, but still, obviously, there's influences here. All these people are dying in the street, and what he's going to do is take all their money.
Yep.
If they have any.
Yep.
I'm just thinking, why aren't you hitting up people that have actual money? Why is it always the little people who are dying in the streets? You're going to take their money.
Because it's not a fun
I guess it's
story.
the worst thing. Yeah, I guess. Okay.
It's 29 to 30.
Well, look at that skeleton over there and steal his pants.
So actually, Mike, if it's 1929 to 1939 is considered the Great Depression.
Okay. So this is 1 year after.
Yeah, barely out of it.
Yeah.
So
can you imagine how many criminals and crooks came out of that?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What with this epidemic, there won't be enough people left in town to tax. And then
glad we don't
that's
have-
fine. We'll move to Carter City next and tax all them.
I'm glad we don't have these kind of politicians these days.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're kind of Rick and the DA are discussing what they're going to do, and Red Bee tells him, "Don't worry about it, man. I'm sure that we'll figure something out." And as soon as he leaves, the Red Bee calls the DA and tells him, "Don't worry. At midnight tonight, I'm going to bring you enough money to pay for all that serum." Right?
Serum.
They call it serum. Too.
Yeah.
He decides he's going to go visit. It's always the bee.
This is the dumbest guy. This may be. This is stupider than the guy who learned to fly.
Black Condor?
Right? Yeah.
You think this is dumber than
I think
Black
it's dumber than
He
Black Condor.
taught himself to fly by flapping his arms.
Yeah, this
Mike.
guy stops criminals with a single bee.
And gymnastics moves.
Well, that's true. And his pirate sleeves.
Yeah, so I mean, there's more to him than
Never
just
mind.
the bee. We haven't gotten to the best part about the bee yet, Mike.
This guy. He's got no neck.
But so the Red Bee shows up to Al Sneed's and he tells him he does, like, again, he never has to like worry about when criminals have guns because the bee always stings their hand. We've had 2 issues and back-to-back issues. That's how we're getting.
It's like one of those old westerns, the guy just shoots him in the hand.
Yeah. Well, he's got the bee for that.
This is dumb.
Then after he gets stung, Al Sneed tells him, "Here, take my dough."
Take my dough. Just
And
throws all the money at him.
Red Bee goes, "There must be a catch to it." And then the very next panel, suddenly Sneed lashes out and he like swings at him. And then the very next panel, now look here, I haven't got time to play with you. Like, it's very quickly, here, take my money. And he punches him, and then he, like, grabs him. No, we're not going to do that.
I like the pacing of the sentences. Now, look here, I haven't time to play with you.
It's very much, like, my favorite, and it's still silly, and I watch it.
I need $100,000 pronto, he says.
My favorite Merry Melody, like, cartoon is the Dover Boys one.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they all talk like that.
The three brothers, one of them's really stupid and looks like a sailor.
They're all stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the sailor is the one that just will randomly, like, walk through.
Yeah, he's tall, but he's also dumpy.
Yeah, and then unhand her. Damn backslide is the villain. This cartoon's from the 30s, and the fact that I remember this is just anyway.
You know why you remember it? Because it's so different. It's so different than all the other ones.
Well, I just remember unhand her damn backslide. Unhand her damn back, because he like says it to the stuffed moose, and he says it to the bear before he finally gets it.
Yeah,
that's the simple thing.
It's good stuff, man.
Anyway,
he tells this dude that he needs $100,000 pronto.
And he tells him, I haven't got it. And he's like, well, where's your safe? And he's like, it's only got a few thousand in bonds.
In bonds.
And he's like, I'll take that still.
Very bonds.
So he takes it to leave. And then he decides, I'm just going to go to his safe houses. And he goes to his safe houses, and he takes care of all the other bad guys there. And I'm making sure it hasn't said it yet. No. And so he gets all the money from that. Here it is.
Sock.
And so.
Punches a guy, and it says sock.
It does. But he shows up. He makes a joke at first when he breaks into this, like, their waterfront, like, main hideout.
Yeah.
They're like, who is it? And he's like, it's the tax collector, boys. And they're like, the Red Bee. And there's, like, a table full of money they've been counting. Yeah. He just, like, tosses them around and comes to, steal the money from them.
I just feel like I'm reading the Bible here. This is where Jesus upended the tables.
Oh, in the temple? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Except I don't think he, like, threw them around like this.
Well, but Jesus wore similar pants.
I don't remember that, but maybe. Something else we haven't pointed out. Mike, what color is his mask this issue?
It's red in places.
Yep, and it was black last time.
Yep.
Here's the second thing about the bee that we haven't got to. A buzzing sound warns the Red Bee, and Red Bee says, what does he say, Mike?
Thanks, Michael. I know what you mean.
That's right.
So
his bee is named Michael.
Is Michael. Michael the Bee.
Michael the Bee.
Why would it be like Barry or Bob?
I don't know. It's a Michael.
Some alliteration.
Mike the Bee.
Mike the Bee.
Who apparently just buzzes by him to let him know, hey, there's somebody behind you. Cool.
So I love how the buzzing has different meanings.
Yes.
Sometimes it means there's a guy
things.
coming. Sometimes it means I'm hungry.
Exactly.
Sometimes it means, I got to take a bee dump.
You just... it's just nice to know that Rick and Michael have a way to communicate.
Very special. Very special.
So he does. He shows back up. The Red Bee ends up taking the money back to the DA's office. There's a little stupid point of where, like, they have cops waiting outside the office because the DA decides he's going to try to catch the Red Bee.
Yeah.
And they hear something going on inside the office, and they barge in, and they realize, oh no, it's just Rick Riley, his assistant. Like,
Stupid
what are you
Rick
doing
Riley.
And they're like, all right, we'll go wait back outside. And then they see, like, a shadow down the hall. And they're like, oh, that's got to be the Red Bee. And they go to stop him, and it's Rick Riley again.
Oh.
And they're like, okay, you guys have made a bad habit out of this. And they're like, oh, I bet you he's in the DA's office. And they go back to the DA's office, and there's the money bags all in the office.
These are terrible criminals.
Well, no, this is the cops
that
are waiting out for them.
Same thing.
Yeah. And then the next day, like, he's like, we got all the money. We weren't able to catch the Red Bee.
He's got a big bandage on his head.
He does, because he's been tackled multiple times.
Yeah, he's been tackled several times. Yeah.
And the DA asked him, like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, just a case of mistaken identity. The police thought I was the Red Bee. And he winks, but I assume he's winking at us as the reader.
He is.
But you have to think, in the story, the DA is seeing him wink too.
He's just looking at him and he goes,
he's
wink.
Like, the police thought I was the Red Bee. And he winks at the DA, and the DA probably goes,
he's like, Rick, are you okay?
Are you the Red Bee?
I know you got hit in the head pretty hard. Are you okay?
Yeah. So the other stories, again, that I covered are very similar to these.
Oh my, that one's very
The
blurry.
ones that were kind of funny, there's this one where a guy gets killed for taking a picture.
That is hilarious.
No, that's not funny.
Oh,
gets killed for taking a picture.
Okay. What do you take a picture of?
Of this guy using city resources to build a house.
Oh, there you go.
So that's that one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Red mask.
Yeah, red mask. But look there.
So you've not met my little friend Michael before.
There you go. I am instead going to use the rest 3 issues that I have to just showcase Michael and how great he is. and also just the weird things in these
Maybe
issues.
he was winking at the bee.
You think the bee can see that wink?
Maybe.
Probably.
He could buzz by him and tell him what's going on.
So yeah, he's like, maybe you've not met my friend Michael. So like, so Rick and Michael are like the tag team you never knew you didn't need. I'm just Red Bee. Anyway,
it's more graphs. It's more griffs.
It's more graphs. It's more griffs.
Yeah.
It's more.
Oh, here we
him
go.
getting captured. Oh, here. Okay, this is one.
Oh,
so in this
is
one,
getting good.
so he goes to hunt down these evil men, the guys who he thinks, or he's trying to figure out who killed this photographer.
Yeah.
So he shows up at this house, and as soon as he like runs, it just says suddenly there's a blinding electric flash, and he just passes out. It's
They
on the yard.
electrocuted him?
It's a tripwire of some sort that electrocutes
okay.
him. Right?
Red Bee goes down.
So they take him inside the cabin. They have other plans for him.
Yeah.
While they're there, they tie him up to a chair, and he's like, and they decide to leave and set the place on fire, right?
Yeah.
Well,
They got him in the attic.
they got him in the attic,
set
and they're
whole
going to
place
set the house on fire.
Yeah.
It'll be worse than that chair and a lot hotter. Ha ha.
Ha-ha.
Then the Red Bee
Fire's
notices
hot,
a
get it?
razor blade on the table, and he's like, if only I could reach it.
Uh-huh.
Well, a deep breath.
Oh, no.
And 3 bees are released from his belt. And get this, Mike, seeing their master's plight, the bees instinctively fly for the razor blade. And
Thanks, boys.
Red
I'll
Bee?
be free in a jiffy now.
that's right. The bees fly the razor blade over to him, and he cuts himself out
So you
and
got
escapes the house.
You got Michael, you got Matthew, and then the third one, he's a little slower. His name's Bob. That's it.
I thought it was going to be Michael, Daryl, and his other brother, Daryl. But, yeah, so he lets more bees. It's not just Michael that hangs out in his belt. And that's the thing I want to question, too. Do they just hang out in the belt until he needs them?
I guess so. Makes me think they're robot bees.
Maybe. Well, not at this time. They're real bees named Michael.
Okay. All right.
He has to drive on a railroad with his tires,
It's so weird. One slip and I'll crash into the side of the mountain.
but he's driving his
Well,
car.
then get off the tracks,
Exactly. He catches up to the train and he jumps by him. Here's what I want to know too, Mike.
Yeah.
Right? He's driving alone by himself.
dumbass. Uh-huh.
I'll put on the automatic driving device in
That's
his
not
car,
a thing, but sure.
so he can step out onto the hood of the car.
Uh-huh.
That is apparently still. Here's what I want to know too. You see where the train is there, Mike?
Yeah.
He's turned on the automatic driving device when he's still hundreds of feet behind the train,
Right.
which means the train has to be speeding forward in this automatic driving
Sure.
device. And I know before we get into this is a story. It is fake. It is not real. I know that. I'm not seriously upset about this,
Yeah,
but
I am.
he has to be speeding forward.
If a car with an automatic driving device is going 70 miles an hour, on a
Exactly. But
train
I'm saying
track-
like it's going fast enough to catch up.
Uh-huh.
He dives. It's going to crash into the back of the train.
I like how he says made it before he actually made it.
Yeah, he's just in the air,
Yeah.
hovering,
He
just made it.
jumps.
But he dives from the hood of the car
What a
onto the back of the
dipshit.
train. And to me, I think that car is going to crash into the back of the train
He's got
anyway
something wrong with his butt.
and cause it to derail. So,
You see that? He's got one cheek, and then the other one kind of goes right
oh
into his
yeah,
leg.
man,
He's got a very small butt, too.
he's got a small butt, but the
He's got
right
like-
cheek does seem like something's
He's got like
up
one of
with
those
it.
Hank Hill butts.
He does have a Hank Hill butt.
Yeah.
Well, he finds them all, and he's like, "Oh, it looks like you guys saw a ghost." He punches them. I'm sure Michael
He
helps out
punches
some.
them. Some other stuff happens.
Here's how this one ends though. The next day at the district attorney's office, look, Chief, you got fan mail. And he's like, "Oh, how popular am
He
I?"
brings 3 guys in a giant bag.
And a giant trash bag. And he's like, "But look inside."
Confessions from a man named Fred.
The president of Graf Construction Company.
Graph.
Sealed and delivered. And here's a note. It's a full confession from a man named Fred.
Oh my God.
And we can take all the credit for this, Riley. And he goes, "That's right, Chief. I'm sure the Red Bee won't mind."
And he looks at the camera.
And he looks at the camera again because
Yeah.
this guy's the worst at keeping secrets.
He is terrible at it. A lot
here's-
of these guys are, though.
Here's the thing I don't get too though. It's a signed confession. Why don't the guys just talk when they're like out of the bag? Like, hey,
Hey, get me out of this bag. I can't breathe.
there's one where there's this doctor that they come across
Mhm.
who is
This one's very different from the other ones.
well, they
The
change
weird
a little
panels
bit.
and stuff.
But-
And he's fighting a Swami.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like he is able to like take over people's minds by having them touch his magic like ball.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, his his crystal ball.
Okay. That's very different.
Like when he's looking to try to tell them about the future, they touch it and like a needle comes out and like pokes them.
Oh,
and
perfect.
injects them with some drug that kind of puts them under mind control by the doctor here.
Yeah, can you scroll up for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, when we first see the guy, he looks like a white dude in a turban.
Yeah.
Then you go down to the next panel. He's gray.
That's a different dude.
Oh, okay. All right. Is it?
Oh no, I see what you're
I think
saying.
it's the same guy. He's gray now.
Yeah, no, I think it's
That's so
them.
weird.
I think it's them trying to use color and obviously
I
being a
get
bit
it.
racist.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I don't know of those people that are gray though. That's a weird.
Yeah. But I think they're trying to go for a.
It's like a Middle Eastern thing. I
That's
would
what
imagine.
they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But again, it's just all of it's from the 40s and too. The way it's printed just does not work.
Sure.
But then so you see the stripes are gone from Red
Yeah,
Bee.
he's got white pants
Also,
now.
on this, it always bugged me. It doesn't look like his mask's on. It looks like he's wearing a red headband in these
Bug
panels.
you.
Look at that. There.
Yeah.
He's just wearing a red headband.
Yeah.
The
It's
mask
far-
changes so much.
It's far too up on his forehead, and then down here he's got gray hair.
Yeah.
That's neat.
There's just no consistency, but he's jumping and lunging for people. It's the same. I mean, it's the same stories for a lot of these. Then
if you could make this into a thing, that would be so funny that everything changes. There's zero continuity throughout the story. It's just different every single time.
every time, some of it just looks like it was just highlighted on, like the mask, like it's not colored in correctly.
Yeah.
The coloring is off on all of this. Nobody's
Coloring's
staying
rough.
in lines
Yeah,
on stuff.
it's rough.
But they end up stopping the Dr. Mara here. The thing that I liked about this one is he has a suitcase that has a secret panel that springs open, and it can take pictures in this box. Also,
I want to. Can you scroll back up for a second?
Yeah.
I want to point out the greatest quote in this whole thing.
Huh?
I felt a slight prick, and now I feel as though I were in a fog.
that's from the
happened
crystal
to-
ball.
Well,
yeah.
that happened to me in high school too.
Oh, I gotcha.
felt a slight prick.
The thing that I love too is with all the problems with the discrepancies and everything here, Mike.
Yeah.
There's a lot of science that they felt needing to do because he explains it here. When you placed your hand on this ball, Dr. Mara pressed a lever and a barely visible needle emerged.
Barely visible.
But they have, look, tube,
Oh yeah,
needle.
they have
the diagram to show you how the science works.
Here's needle. Here's tube.
And they do that in the next episode too.
Oh wow, look at him. Is he underwater?
Yes.
Oh, now he's got an all red suit, and his
Yep.
arms are yellow. And that's a whole
And
different
it is
guy.
clear plastic though.
Uh-huh.
This was the last one I read.
Yeah.
And it does take place underwater. He doesn't have a mask there at all.
No mask.
So that would tell you, hey,
the guy he's fighting's missing a tooth.
is he?
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
This one has to deal with a boat. Here's one thing that I want to know. And from the DA's office, because you talked about continuity and just everything following.
Yeah.
We start this adventure from the DA's office. The Red Bee appears.
Uh-huh. In his
And-
now yellow pants.
Yep. And he dives down below.
Uh-huh.
Because
Oh, his boots are red now too, not green.
They are. And he dives down below because it says, like, they're leaving here. I'm going. Like, the DA is leaving for the day. And as he leaves, it says suddenly a car appears.
How does he know that car's following the
And
DA?
that's where he's like, great Scots, that car's following the DA. So that's why he changes to the Red Bee.
Yeah.
And he dives
Jumps
out.
out a window
And he follows them.
like a bee.
Okay?
Yeah.
And he finds that it takes them to this boat. And as he goes to step on the boat, as soon as his feet hit the dock, it triggers a bell
Tells him
under
someone's
the ship.
snooping
Yeah,
around.
you're there. So they wait, and it leads into a fight.
I like how their weapon is a pipe wrench.
It is.
Okay.
And they go, quickly, the gangsters assemble behind the door, ready to crush
They're
their
getting
unknown
with
visitor.
a pipe wrench.
But
But
suddenly,
this other dude's got a machine gun.
He does.
Like a
Suddenly-
Tommy gun.
Suddenly, the Red Bee comes hurling upon the thugs.
Uh-huh.
Attaboy, Michael, I'm right behind you.
Ow,
Ow,
I'm
I'm
stung.
stung. Yeah. I mean, Michael always taking care of business.
And then the
for
bee
sure.
stings the guy from the Operation game.
He does.
Look at,
Michael.
look at his hair.
Michael makes a landing.
Yeah. Good
So,
job, Michael.
But it's not enough because somebody sneaks up with a lead pipe and hits him on the back.
That's
of the
not
head.
what it says. It says they strike the Red Bee with a heavy whirling steel pipe. What does that mean?
I think that's the way it's
Is
moving.
it just like
it was
he-
whirling by?
Okay, all right. That's
then
a
they're like-
weird sentence.
And they're like, he's out.
Yeah.
And while he's out, they toss him. They drive to a place that says Swordfish.
That's where all the swordfish hang out.
Like in the middle of the ocean, there's just a sign that says Swordfish.
Song,
Not plural.
bud. Remember us to the fishes.
Not plural, singular.
Swordfish. That's where that one swordfish is.
Well, don't worry. Red B is going to use that to his advantage, and he waits for him to swim by him,
Yeah.
and he holds his arms out for him to cut through the ties.
Yeah.
He's like, just missed me.
That is the weirdest
run it
looking
through me.
swordfish.
Then, here we go, Michael. I have Michael on my head because of the B. Here we go,
Yeah,
Mike. And
sure.
so he swims up to the cover, and he goes, there they go. I've got a long swim ahead of me to catch up. We see the boat in the distance. After many hours of long and tiresome swimming,
This man's going to be dead.
the Red Bee arrives at the docks.
Many hours.
I'm going to give them a surprise they'll never forget.
Uh-oh.
So he swims for hours,
Still got
Mike,
his pants on.
and it goes, the Red Bee quietly climbs onto the barge. Great Scott, they're gone.
Yeah, because
They've
you've been
gone
swimming
to
for
murder
hours.
the DA. I'll have to drive to catch up with them. And he is able to catch up with them. And he goes, hey, like he's speeding through traffic. And he gets out, and then it goes, the DA's office is on the 20th floor. I haven't much time. I have to get there in a hurry. Mike, I bring
How
that
about
up
an
again
elevator?
because where did we start at?
In the DA's office?
So we jump down.
Oh, yeah.
We punch a guy out. We drive
Oh.
to a barge. We get thrown
You
into
go
with
right
the
back to
fish.
the DA's
We swim for hours just to wind up back at the DA's office.
That's fantastic.
You want to talk about running circles?
Yeah.
It's exactly what they've done here.
Yeah, buzzing circles. But sure.
Buzzing circles. And then we get to maybe the best device that I got into. I don't know. There's 19 other appearances of the
Yeah.
Red Bee in the
Yeah.
40s. It could have gotten better.
Yeah.
But he pulls out this little
There's
contraption.
no way it got better.
They added a woman later. I do know that. A
Oh,
few
okay,
seconds
good.
later, the Red Bee's alto gainer is all set. And again, we
Alto
have
gainer.
science, Mike.
Gauge.
We have a
button,
spring and a gauge and a button. We don't care that we just went around in circles and we wound up back at the DA's office. Our science is on point.
Okay, wait a minute. He pulled a whole damn thing out just to shoot him up to the 20th floor.
And here's the thing.
This building doesn't have an elevator or
He
steps?
fits himself in the tube. And it goes, now I'll put it on 400 feet and press the button, right?
Oh my
400
God.
feet. And then it goes, the Red Bee is hurtled into the air. 20, 30, 40 feet up he goes. I think there's some miscalculation.
There is some miscalculation. He's
If
going
you're-
400 and now he's at 40.
I guess it only does it has a 10% rule of
Uh-huh.
I'll set it at
Something like that.
400. It's only going to get me 40. And it just
You know what would be
shoots him
better
out.
is if he had a shitload of bees and they just buzzed him up to the 20th
Yes.
floor. They just grab onto him.
That would be cooler.
Maybe he could take the bees and it's almost like the Wonder Twins or something.
Exactly.
He takes the bees and he makes a parachute out of them or something,
But in this case, no. He just he barely hangs on there.
He thought he was a goner.
He thought he was, but he is able to catch on. That seems to be a thing, too, of him thinking that he's got it before he's even there.
That is a
Also, the
terrible way to
coloring-
get up a building.
The coloring, they said, forget the eyes. We're just
Yeah.
going to highlight over
Screw
all of it.
Let's just go. Yeah.
Anyway, though, he's able to, that's where it ends. I forgot
Yeah.
it ends in one page. So as the Red Bee opens the door, a smile of relief comes to his face because they haven't killed the DA yet,
Oh,
and he's
thank
happy
God.
about that. But a bee comes in to distract them, per usual. It's probably Michael, and he ends up breaking everybody up, catching all the criminals, knocking them out. And as he's going to leave,
Why does he say you're first, number 26?
I thought that was the boat's name, but apparently it's a dude's name.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm Mr. 26. This is my wife, Mrs. 27.
Yeah, and so after he beats them all up, he goes to leave, and the DA's trying to hunt him down, and he's like, I'm going to see who you are. And he's like, come and get me, DA. And he runs out the window, and he's like, I got you. And about that time, he hits him, and he's like, well, I'll be, Riley. Didn't you see the Red Bee just run by here now? And he's like, oh, you're still trying to catch the Red Bee? And he's like, no wisecracks. If it hadn't been for you, I would have had him. All right, and that's where it ends. But it does end with the Red Bee and Michael will be back in another thrilling issue of the next issue of Hit Comics. Although I did not read any more, they are there. But
This
that
is,
is the Red Bee.
This is rough, man. That is a rough character.
You didn't like the Red Bee?
Well, I like it. I like it because it's so fanciful,
Yeah.
but it's very stupid also.
Oh, for
The
sure.
box that shoots him up. I think that's the stupid. I thought the bees were the bad part. No, it's that box. It's that clown box that shoots him up 20 floors.
I'm looking through here to see
Again,
if there's
the
any
bad
more.
guys, how did they get to the 20th floor?
the elevator. I'm
That's
assuming.
what I'm saying. See,
I will say that they do make the bee itself
and the
kind of
box
red
is
sometimes.
effing big.
Just then, a small insect buzzes in. Michael, the pet of the red bee. So Michael is a full-on pet.
Oh, okay. So he's his pet, but it
But
never
yet-
names the other ones.
He never names the other ones.
Huh. It's like the Archangel, right?
Yeah.
Michael the Red Bee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's dumb.
Later, towards the later episodes, I read that there's a woman that'll join him for like
Yeah.
his. We're just scrolling through these.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name, but like she just like appears to help him with the case, and he just like lets her be a part of it from then on.
Good
So
God.
then the stories are just like about Rick and Nancy.
Sure. Michael, he's feeling really.
Michael probably
slighted.
gets a little upset, yeah. But so anyway, that's the red bee.
Red Bee can do it on his own. Buzz.
But there's a lot more to get into with him if you wanted to go ahead and
there's really
dive
not,
into.
but okay,
I think we
sure.
covered the gist
That's
of it.
the thing about
I
these.
wanted a good public domain like.
Well, that's the thing about these kind of comics. Every story is basically exactly the same.
is.
It's just over and over and over and over and over. I guess you can't fault them on the consistency.
No, you can't.
Quality maybe, but consistency
But
no.
now, also later on, they brought back the red bee as another character, and it's his granddaughter that plays it. And she has like taken,
The Red Beette.
and she has like a mech suit that like causes her to fly and stuff
For
like
real.
that. Yeah.
No more springy bucks.
No, let me see if I can
Shoots
find this up real
clowns into
quick.
the
then.
sky.
Yeah, I
Huh.
think the new red bee.
The new Red Bee.
The new red bee. But
the mauve bee.
that is the red bee. As I look up
You're looking up the granddaughter?
the
or whatever?
granddaughter, the new one. See, that's what she looks like now.
Oh wow. Good Lord.
Yeah, it's a lot different.
That's a big difference.
Jenna Riley is her name.
So it's owned by DC. She
Um,
got some badass looking bees with
I'm
her,
sorry,
too.
grandniece or granddaughter of the original. First appeared in Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters #5
Oh wow.
in 2007.
Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters is from 2007?
Well, they redid it.
Oh, okay.
It came out in
I see the old
73.
one. Yeah, I see the old one.
It came out in 73, which is what he was brought back as a part of, and then they redid it in 2007.
Yeah, but that's kind of
with
cool.
that.
I would watch an Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters movie.
Yeah.
James Gunn, you need to get on that.
Speaking of her, Rick's grandniece, Jenna, takes up the mantle of the Red Bee. She uses a mechanized battle suit. This is from Wikipedia, by the way. And 2 robotic bees that can fire electricity.
So that makes a lot more sense to me.
She
Instead
assists-
of using real
yeah.
bees.
She soon learns over the course, Jenna is mutated by an alien insect colony into a human bee hybrid
Sounds perfect.
with the enhanced physical abilities, pheromone production capabilities, and antenna on her head.
I would like to explore the pheromones.
Yeah.
I
However,
don't know what you're using those
her
for.
mind is later completely circumvented by the mutation.
Oh.
After trying to colonize the entire Earth, she is cured of her infliction when
So it's like a
Lanford
Venom thing.
Terrell uses his new Neon.
Oh,
Neon was on Neon
that other
powers,
guy?
I think so,
Oh.
to destroy the insect influence. By the series end, Jenna feels guilt over her actions, and she eschews the superhero life to continue her work in the research field.
Mm.
So there is no more Red Bee.
Okay.
So Red
Even
Bee,
Red Bee 2 is gone.
Yep, Red Bee 2 is gone too. Well,
Red
I'm,
Bee 2,
I'm
this
sorry
one is
because I
personal.
know that you really wanted Red Bee. More
I
Red
would love
Bee.
to see a reboot of the Red Bee.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I like the robot bees. I think
Ooh.
that's much better because then there's no question of they die after they sting you once or whatever. You know. Plus they can do extra shit. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
because they're robots.
Um,
AI bees is what they would
AI
be
bees.
now. Yeah.
oh, that could, and they just go haywire and they do their
Uh-huh.
own thing. Wasn't there? I feel like there was a Black Mirror episode about bees.
Was there?
About robot bees. Yeah.
Robot bees?
I think so.
I think I missed that one.
Eh.
I don't know. What
Anyway,
that was.
that is the Red Bee. That is this week's
That was fun.
episode. Next week,
Yeah.
we are going to dive into something that I know Mike will be excited about.
A peacemaker.
It's a 6-issue series that just wrapped up at the end of 2023. It's called Peacemaker Tries Hard,
Yeah.
and we were going to cover those 6 issues next week then
Yeah.
to dive into something more current. And the beauty of it is if you've watched the James Gunn or DCU TV show,
Mhm.
you should be fine. That's
It's
what you
very
should
good.
expect out of this
Yeah.
Peacemaker. He looks like his look is that of John
Looks
Cena.
like John Cena. Yeah.
This is a book from the little bit I've read, is filled with absolute ridiculousness. It's a Black Label title, so it's
Yeah.
we're probably going to have a more explicit episode next week, just to warn you there, though, too.
Okay.
And, Mike, there is an appearance in issue 4.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, there's multiple appearances. But the one that I wanted to, there's an appearance of a character in issue 4 that might be one of our first callbacks. It's to one of the first episodes we did.
One of the ones we covered.
One of the ones we covered.
Huh.
From back in the 80s.
Yeah, don't tell me.
I'm not going to tell you, but it's a character that hadn't been seen since then and shows back up. But we covered him way back in the day. So that, and also another surprise in this series too that I think you'll appreciate. Funny enough. But so that is what we'll do next week. A lot of fun there. Until next time, we appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen.
Man.
If you do have time, make sure to check out the Rogue Media Network family of podcasts.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Hey, Calicon.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.